You tell me when.
Okay, we are recording. We are live for Red Hot Coffee Club. I feel like it's been forever. Like, I know we only missed 1 month, but it feels like it has been like a year.
I know.
So it is a little,
so true.
Little crazy. So awesome. Heidi, why don't you go ahead and start us off then?
Okay, awesome. I'd be glad to. God, we just come to you on this beautiful, beautiful fall morning. And Lord, we just pray for today as we gather together as friends, as women in Mary Kay leadership, God, that we, Lord, would be a blessing to each other, lift each other up. God, I pray for us to be healthy. I pray for Maya to feel better, God, and to be with her. And God, we just thank you for the strength that you've given us to run our businesses, Lord, the knowledge, the passion, God. And Lord, as we continue to pass on that legacy, give us the right words to encourage each other and to share with our red jackets that are going to be listening either live or in the recording, God, that it would be the one thing, God, that they would need to just further their business and encourage them in this journey. God, we love you and we just praise you for all things. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Awesome. Thank you, Heidi. Well, when we kind of met and decided about this training, we wanted this training to focus on obviously recruiting, because this is for you guys as Red Jackets, but with the emphasis on recruiting virtually, being able to recruit, whether you are in person, whether you're working through virtual parties or things like that. And so that's what we're going to focus on. But this morning, actually, as I was getting ready, I had this thought that I thought would be kind of a fun little exercise to do, just to kind of get in the right mindset of things. As we are headed into Thanksgiving, coming up this next week. And when we're talking about recruiting, that was the one thing that Mary Kay Ash asked us to do. Like, she asked us to pass on this opportunity. And so I thought it would be an awesome exercise to start. If you just wrote down your top 5 things that you are grateful for in regards to your Mary Kay business. So what are the top 5 things that if Mary Kay was not in your life, if you were not an independent beauty consultant, if you were not an independent sales director, what would be missing? So what are you grateful for with that? And as you're writing those, I mean, you can feel free, like, you can share them, you can put them in the chat, however you want to do it. But I listened to a message, and I'll have to find it and share it in case you guys didn't hear it, but it was a message from Leah Laughlin, National Sales Director Leah Laughlin, that she had the experience to where somebody outside of Mary Kay, it was actually the mom of one of her kids' friend's mom, mom friend kind of things. And they had happened to come across Leah's YouTube channel, where it had some of her Mary Kay recordings or videos from her Mary Kay events. And the mom came to Leah and was like, is that real? Like, is that really how you guys are? Is that like, was that just for show? Was that just because it was being recorded? And so Leah and her met, and this woman is, I mean, she's got kids. She's very accomplished. She's actually somebody that is in ministry as well. And she was so surprised about the authenticity of the culture of Mary Kay, that there was the praise, that there was the support, that there was the encouragement, that women could be like that, that, I mean, I always think, if you are in an environment where you have that kind of thing in your job, where you're always supported and encouraged, like, that is completely fantastic, because that's not always the case. And so I think sometimes when we're in Mary Kay, especially if you've been in Mary Kay for a long time, you can almost start to take that for granted. You forget how awesome that is. But then as you're building your team, I think that's the beauty of it, is you get reminded every single time that you're working with a new team member of all of that. It's watching it through somebody's eyes for the first time. When you go to an event with somebody for the first time, it's like you get to experience it all over again. And so I just kind of wanted to put that thought is, in your head as we're talking about recruiting, all of the things that we love about Mary Kay are all of the reasons why somebody else would love it just as much. Maybe their reasons would be a little bit different, But if we can find 5, 10, 15 things that we love about it, what's to say that somebody else can't find that as well? Because they can. And so I just thought that would kind of help get us in that right frame of mind. So does anybody want to share anything that they wrote down?
Well,
Go for it.
so the first one I said was relationships. Obviously with my sister directors, but also with my consultants in my unit and my customers. Like just getting to know people on a personal level, know their kids' names, and obviously, yes, I know, especially my customers. I know their foundation color and their favorite mascara, but getting to know them a little bit more, and be there when they have a death in the family or they're going through a hard time, and things like that. So relationships was number one for me. Second is seeing Easton's confidence and excitement when it comes to anything Mary Kay. When Mary and I were first on here, he came up every single time I'm doing a video that he catches me or finds me. He comes up and says, "We're getting a Mary Kay car, we're getting a pink Cadillac, we're getting 2 other cars." I'm like, well, we're not technically getting 2, we're getting 1 other car and then the pink Cadillac. But just like seeing his excitement and his confidence grow, and he tells everybody, I mean, everybody, I'm like, well, mommy better earn this pink Cadillac or I'm in trouble. So that was number 2. The culture was actually what I wrote down as number 3, the encouragement, people to be there to listen to you and pour belief into you. The financial choices we have, especially now being a director, and then just the flexibility for the stage of life that I'm in with my young kids. So.
Absolutely. Awesome. I love it. I love it. Anybody else want to share?
I'll share.
Yeah.
I would say my first one has been my faith. I feel like because of Mary Kay, I've really been able to create a faith that is mine, not anybody else's, but mine. And like, I really feel like I've been taught and mentored how to believe in a God who's so much bigger than what I could have ever imagined, and to really learning how to surrendering hard times, surrendering great times, surrendering when goals don't come together, surrendering things in my personal life. Like it really has been amazing to watch that happen. But I believe my faith has been impacted through the friendships who have like loved me through all seasons, like a genuine me. But I feel like because of those friendships, especially with you guys, I've been able to be like the most authentic me that I probably have ever been and ever felt like I could be. And that was accepted and loved, encouraged, all from my forgetfulness, my quirkiness, to my energy, like all of that. My third was the income, like the income that we have. And I always struggle saying this because I'm afraid I'd always come off materialistic, but the income has brought choices for our family, for Jordan to be able to do, for us to love on our family, to love on people. And like, that to me is like, it's been something I think I've struggled with a long time being okay with. And now I'm like, this is something I want other women to get to experience. The next one would be the experiences. So growing up, the biggest vacation I ever took was going to the Grand Canyon. Like that was a big deal. And so getting to have the experiences of literally traveling across the country, you guys, still, I'm in shock that we took our kids to Disney. Like, I cannot even believe that like actually happened. Like, and we are talking about it every single day. And I'm like, wow, like oh my gosh, it's amazing. And then finally the flexibility, right? Like, oh my gosh, like you can't come at me with anything without this flexibility. Like it's unreal. And the flexibility to have the income that we do with the flexibility that we have is just, that's amazing. So those are my top 5.
Awesome. I love it.
Amazing. So true. Oh my gosh. A lot of ours are the same, but that's not a shocker to me. My number 1 was, I think, Mary Kay gave me the opportunity to change my thinking and my confidence. And I think a lot of women are stuck in, once you get to a certain stage of life, that you just think this is the way things are. So to be able to change my thinking changes everything. Okay. So that's my number 1, I think Mary Kay gave to me. Number 2 is my circle of girlfriends as well, and Mary Kay. And just the women that I'm around are the top, but the top of the top, cream of the crop, and that's golden. Number 3 is the opportunity to change. So back to like my number 1, when I had my thinking, the opportunity to change is huge, because I think people get stuck in a rut. People earn their degrees and get in their jobs and get in a stage of life, and our life should always be changing. And Mary Kay makes it good that it's a good thing to change. It gives us the opportunity to make changes and to tweaks and not to be stagnant. Number 4 is my income. Completely changed our lives in so many ways, and mine as well with the travel. I mean, that income with the travel, like Maya said, is crazy. Like Hawaii would not have happened, And number 5 is a legacy for my children, kind of like what Jennifer said. I love it when I hear about Easton, because I was thinking about him the other day, and I was like, oh my gosh, that kid, give him 10 years down the road, it's just going to be amazing. And my kids were really young, like Jennifer's age when I started. And so last night we had a party here, a bonfire with 30 students outside, and Caden, my senior, one of the girls came in to use the restroom, and I'll share this real quick. She's like, oh, you're a Mary Kay, because my mom used to do Mary Kay. And Caden said, yeah, but my mom's really into Mary Kay. She's very and I thought, oh my gosh, they know like the difference, and they know like so it was just, I mean, your kids are watching me, they're watching you, and so it's just priceless. You can't make that stuff up.
Yeah, absolutely. Sherry, how about you, darling?
So my number 1 thing is my Mary Kay family. I feel like, there's so much support and encouragement, and you just don't have that in, I want to say, real life. I mean, even though this is real life, but in the regular world, you don't have that kind of support from other people, but also that you're supported by women of integrity. People are not telling you how to do things in a sketchy kind of way. You know what I mean? It's all on, everybody wants to encourage you to do things for the right reasons and in the right way. And to me, that's huge, because if you've ever worked in a business, that's not always the way it is. And the second thing is confidence. I feel like this has helped me tremendously. I've always been social, but I was social on a, like if you're standing in front of me, I'm social. But as far as like getting in front of people and talking about things and sharing things, and I've never sold anything in my life. And it's not really about selling things. It truly is about making relationships with people. And then it comes easy, because you're like, oh, I love this. This might help you, And so I feel like my confidence has grown so much in that way. I have ladies that'll tell me, they're like, oh, I could never do that. And I was like, I never did it either. I didn't do it either. But you have the tools and the support, and that helps you build confidence. It all kind of works together, I also feel like, I don't know how to put this into exact words, but it lifts my mood. Mary Kay changes my attitude and my mood, because we do everything in a positive way. Whether you're trying to reach a goal and you're like going to blow it out of the water, or if you're trying to reach a goal and you're not quite getting there, it doesn't matter, because everybody is still there and still, giving you that positive feedback. And that's huge. I just feel like it really lifts your mood. And of course, my other job, I'm a hospice nurse. And so it's not always positive, it's kind of, I don't want to say depressing, but, sad sometimes. And who gets sad at a Mary Kay party? I mean, everybody's happy. Everybody's loving what you're doing. They're all with their friends or, whatever. And so it makes my mood better. My sister even made a comment the other day about that. And she said, you really love doing this, don't you? And I said, I do. And she said, you can tell, so I thought that was big that she mentioned that. And the last thing I listed was, like you mentioned, if it's in my schedule. I am very busy. I like to be busy. We do lots of community events. We have lots of friends. We're busy, but I can work it when I want to work, and fit it in here and there. And I don't have to work my Mary Kay 10 hours at a time. I can do it, in between ball games or whatever. And so I really appreciate that's the flexibility for me. I don't have little kids anymore. Now I have I have the other end, we're going to sports and we're going to, all those kind of things. So it still fits.
Yeah. Awesome. I love that when you said it lifts my mood and changes my attitude, because I mean, it is our happy place. Like we jokingly call it our pink bubble. And that sounds strange to the people that are outside of it, but you say that to the people that are in it and they totally get it. Totally get it. And I love it because like, it is interesting how all of our top, because my top 5 would all be around in those same things, the self-growth, like the confidence and just personal development and always wanting to learn things and just grow, the flexibility, the spiritual side, the friends and the income. Like, but I love that. I mean, I think most of us did say something about the income, but that was never anybody's first thing. You know what I mean? And I think that just, again, it's not about selling the product. Like that is just the vehicle to so many different things. And I think to me, that's the key thing for us to always remember in regards to our business, and especially in regards to team building, is yes, the income can benefit everybody, like for some sort of reason, whether that is they need the extra income, or I even had like Vicky that's in my unit, she started because she needed a tax write-off. Like their income, because of being in the military and things, was high enough that they needed a tax write-off. And so this allowed them to have that option. So that income kind of does come into play for everybody that can benefit, but that's not always the reason people stay. Like I would venture to say that is not the reason people stay. It's great, but there is so much more. Like I would do this even if I wasn't getting paid anything. You know what I mean? And so I think to keep that in mind as we're talking about team building and as you're looking at people that are in your life and in your customer base, that truly is what we want to pass all of those things on to other people. Like that's what Mary Kay Ash was wanting us to do. Not just pass on the business, but pass on the byproducts of the business to every single person. And so I think just, again, to have that in our frame of mind as you're talking about this, it is truly that we're here to give and to serve and, pass this on to others because of what it's done for us as well. So I know that was not really on our agenda for today, but I thought that would be good. So I think one of the things that we wanted to do first was, I know Jennifer had shared with us as we were planning, just in regards to how, as you are working virtually, especially like Fab 5 parties or online parties or things like that, how to ensure that you are continuing to work full circle and share Mary Kay with each of those people. So Jennifer, do you kind of want to go over that with us and share your strategy for that?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, as we were planning this, I was specifically thinking back to my time as a red jacket in DIQ, working to earn our first couple of cars. And I made an intentional effort, and I still do this, but I made a switch in my brain to make sure that I asked every single hostess to have a career chat with me, because everyone deserves to be asked. It's not up to me to predetermine if they would be in Mary Kay or not. And I'm sure you all would agree with this. The people that you think would, don't, and the people that you don't think will, do join Mary Kay. That's just how it happens. And so who is it? Like, it's not up to me to decide, or if they would be good at Mary Kay or if they would like it or anything like that. And so I always made sure to ask my hostesses. Typically, I did not have, if it was for virtual, especially virtual, typically I did not have a career chat beforehand. Typically it was like the day after their party. And this is just what's worked for me. And the reason I did this is I wanted to get some sales and some bookings from that party already established before talking to the hostess. I also made the point to not process debit and credit cards yet. Like, orders would come in, but I wouldn't have them processed. I'd have them sitting there waiting until I had a chance to talk with the hostess. And so I have a little script here, and I can copy and paste this or put it somewhere or send it to you. But so I would just say, hey, Jennifer, thank you for being my hostess yesterday. Okay, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong script. Just a second. I've got a couple ones up here. Okay. And then if I was doing the Fab 5 party, I would say you're only however many people away from unlocking your half price shopping spree. So exciting. quick question for you. I'm looking for some feedback and would love your insight. It'll only take about 10-15 minutes of your time. Would you be willing to help me? And I've changed, my verbiage over time, but I love the word feedback because I could generally am asking for their feedback. I do want to see, what they think and what their thoughts are about Mary Kay. And does everyone say yes to me? No, they do not. But a lot of people do. And even if they tell me no, at least that's another layer that they're getting. And so through that conversation, as I'm chatting with the hostess, I try to do it within 24, 48 hours after her party has launched and started and all of that. I would tell her, hey, like if she's really interested, I can tell she's kind of on the fence. Be like, hey, guess what? Your party already has $250 in sales. It has one booking. Okay, let me think about this. Okay, these are your friends and family. What if I were to gift them to you, gift you the sales from this party to help you start your own Mary Kay business, and you already have one booking as well on your calendar? Not everyone would say yes, but a lot of them did. And that is how I built my car team and my unit specifically from March to June. That was the working the full circle. I had my hostesses, I was selling, but then I was also chatting with them and recruiting a good portion of them. And so this was something, like I said, to make sure that every single woman was asked, that every single woman had the opportunity to ask questions themselves. And, of course I would say something in the live videos or, in the Zoom parties or anything like that about the opportunity. And sometimes that would, trigger their questions, but I also did send them the all-in family video. And I've jokingly told them too, I'm like, I'm not in this one yet. I'll be in the next one. So I don't know, maybe we need to remake that one because they're like, wait, why aren't you in it? Anyways, and so something I would tell them is I would just say, hey, here's a video that may help you come up with 5 questions. That way I'm not like, hey, you need to watch this video. I'm like, so here's how the conversation will go. I'm going to have you ask me a few questions about working a Mary Kay business. I'll take notes, get your feedback, and here's the video that may help you come up with those questions. And then I send it to her. Even though, because she's already a hostess, because she's already, waiting to get her half price, I don't really say, hey, if you do this for me, I'll gift you this or gift you that. I do tell her when she's on the call that she's entered into our giveaway for the month. So whatever all-in family giveaway that we're doing, I do tell her about that just as a thank you for her time. But I found that was a really, I guess, I don't know, like not laid back approach, but not an in your face, I need you to watch this video type of approach to having her watch the marketing before she does the chat with me. Okay, so those are a few things I did with the hostess. And then for the customers of the party, the guests of the party, I would always message them. I need to do better at messaging them before. My sister does this really well. Before a party, everyone that's in, she, sends messages on Messenger. I do more so afterwards. There's something you didn't work on, but the day or two after the party. So a Fab 5, I usually leave open for 48 hours. So I'm making sure I have usually the hostess contact people the day after. So if it's at night, say a Monday night, I have her contact them on Tuesday, then I message them on Wednesday. And here's an example of something I would send them. Just a second. Hey, Mama's working. I love you.
And the pink Cadillac.
And the pink Cadillac, yes. All right.
Then 2 Mary Kay cards.
And 2 Mary Kay cards, yes. All right. Hey, go over here. Mommy will come find you when we're done. See if we can mark off some more Cadillac squares. Okay?
Yeah, just move all that.
Yeah, I'll move the stuff so you can get to the chart. Okay, go find Daddy. Told you. He tells everyone. Okay, so my script that I send to the guests of the party. We'll say, hey, Jennifer, thank you for joining us for Cassandra's Fab 5 party. I know she appreciated the support. I wanted to remind you that the Fab 5 promotion and discounts end tonight at midnight. Do you have any questions about products that I could help you with? Cassandra is just 2 hostesses away from receiving her, at the time I was doing a microdermabrasion set as a gift from me. Would you want to host a virtual party and receive a half price shopping spree? Oh, also, Cassandra is just only 1 Pearl call away from earning her free lip gloss. All I request is 10 to 15 minutes of your time, and as my thank you, you'll be entered into our monthly giveaway. And then I put my website at the end, and that's kind of like a sample script of what I would send her. So in that, I'm asking her about sales, I'm asking her about hosting, and I'm also asking her to help me with the Pearl call, because I mentioned that in the live video. And I also mentioned that like in some of the follow-up posts for my Fab 5 party. So after my live video, I have 2 full days of posts that are scheduled every few hours that recap the products, recap saying that the hostess needs hostesses and protocols. And the hostess knows all of this. Like I've told her ahead of time, like, hey, when you have 2 girlfriends host a party, you're going to receive this. If you have 2 girlfriends help me with my business training protocols, however I worded it at that time, you're going to receive this. And so I have had hostesses too, like go out and find these women for me, and I don't even have to do the work, which is great because they get excited about, getting the free product. And so that's what I've done with not only the customers, but the hostesses as well, to make sure that I get more bookings and I get more career chats out of all my parties, specifically virtually. Like this is my virtual approach. I do it in person. It's a little different, but specifically virtually. And so, yeah, that's what I've done. And that's what's worked really well. And yeah, those are the tips I had this morning.
That is incredible because, and that was the thing, like Jennifer truly has, and Sherry, you're kind of the same way. Like, you guys have been able to do in person and virtual, but the majority, like for Jennifer, the majority of her work coming in, doing DIQ, doing CAR, all of that was done through virtual, and so I know we kind of sometimes can get hung up on making sure that our virtual things are just, it's just the same as in person. It's just delivered in a different way, and so just kind of thinking that thought the same, but delivered a little bit differently. So Maya or Heidi, do you have anything to add to that?
I just had a question for Jennifer. And Jennifer, you may not know this, but on average. So if you would have, I don't know how many people attend your virtual party and you would send those follow-ups, like what's a ballpark figure what they would respond with either the career chat and that sort of thing as you were building? Do you kind of know, like, okay, I know from, all my parties, I'll probably get, 2 people that will listen, or do you have kind of an idea what that looked like?
Yeah. So typically 1 in 3 women would respond to me. And there were some too that I did even send a follow-up message. Like I tried to send this out in the morning, the day, like 2 days after. And then if they hadn't responded to me, I would also send them a follow-up message. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that, like in the evenings, because we know not everyone responds on the first point of contact.
Right.
And if I'm not friends with them, then it goes to like their message request. So Messenger's doing better about popping up notifications if you're not friends with someone. I have noticed that. Typically 1 in 3 people would respond to me. So that just depended on, of course, the size of the party, how many of those messages I sent out. My goal was always to book at least the hostess and at least 1 other person for a career chat. If it was a bigger party, then I would expect more. But I would say on average, I walked away with at least 2 parties was pretty average. And then also at least 2 career chats. Yeah.
Which is amazing that you do that, because I don't think I've ever told you that was what Mary Kay would call the perfect party, was $200 in sales, 2 new bookings, and 2 chats.
Mhm.
And you did that, and look at how your business grew. Just so, I say peacefully, like it really did. You focused on the exact things. And I think what's crazy is I think sometimes we walk away from a party and we think it needed to be super grand with like 400 in sales and 5 new bookings and 6 new chats. But we forget the power of $200, 2 new bookings and 2 chats from every party. Like, oh my gosh, if you have 5 parties times 2, that's 10 chats. Like that's amazing. And so I'm kind of giggling, like I'm like, oh my gosh, like we call that the perfect party. Or maybe but that was what Mary Kay would teach, was 200, 2 new bookings and 2 chats. And that's the technical term of working full circle. Like when you walk away, so your scripts are brilliant. I feel like you've so good with your scripts and your verbiage. I personally loved your very non-threatening approach to watch this video. It will help you create some ideas of some questions to ask. Like that's so brilliant.
I even do that now for pro calls. Like, so I did 2 pro calls with Lisa in my unit last night, and I sent her the text ahead of time, and it says like, and I can find the exact script. Sorry, it's on my phone and I'm on my phone, but it just says, thank you for agreeing to help me with my training. Here's a video that may help you come up with your 5 questions. I'll see you or talk to you at whatever time, and just send the video. And now, do all of them watch it? No. And I can tell pretty quickly as the conversations and questions are coming if they have or not.
Yeah.
But then I'll ask too. I'm like, so were you able to watch the video? And sometimes they'll say yes, sometimes they'll say not yet. And I'm like, that's okay. And then I'll follow up like, hey, let me know when you watched it, or I'm so glad you're able to watch it. Was it helpful? And just to get some of their feedback on that as well.
Well, and the language is real, is what I loved the most. It's not stuffy, it's not pushy, it's not salesy. You know what I mean? Like it's normal, normal talk, normal conversation kind of thing that makes it more, I think, more approachable. And like people accept that better than, hey girl, some of those like generic kind of stuff like that. So I loved that as well. And even
I think
the
Sherry
verbiage,
was
like
wanting
feedback,
to, sorry, go ahead.
the feedback word, like
The
that
feedback,
was good too. So go ahead.
No, I would say Sherry, I think, was wanting to say something.
Yes.
I love the scripts. I love those. I can't wait to get those, to try those. Because like Mary said, I mean, it seems very authentic and you're just having a conversation. It's not threatening. I would think most people would be willing to do that, because if somebody asked me, hey, can you give me some feedback on this? Okay. Because you're not asking me to, hey, can you join Mary Kay? And so I think that's really good. But I also loved where you said, when you are messaging the guests and you tell them that your hostess will earn a lipstick or lip gloss for doing that, because people will do things for other people.
Yeah.
But that's really good. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Well, yeah, Jennifer, make sure that you get those scripts and then we will use
Yep.
and
I'll
share.
I'll text Sherry and then I'll text you all as well once we're done. I just made a note.
What if we were to make a Fab Five Google Doc like we have for Camp Holiday? So we could have a place for scripts or for graphics or follow-up, which Jen might already
I'll
have.
say I already have that all.
So that way it's a lot easier for us to share and to pass on to.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, was like, let's do that.
We probably could
Yeah.
create like a generic, like all in national area folder and just drop stuff in there as we have it.
Yeah. Love that.
What I love about Jennifer is that you have a system and you're very organized. And so it's just second nature. You don't even have to think about it. Like for me, sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it this way, another time, I'm just trying to fill it out because virtual is not my first thing. It really is not. It's never been. Now you get me in front of people and I know my systems, but virtually I'm always tweaking but you found out what's worked for you. And the scripts like Maya and them all said are just amazing. So I'm looking forward to changing my scripts, based on that, because I love how it's full circle, because I feel like sometimes I'm doing a thread, then I ask them this, and then I ask them that. And I was like, oh, this is very upfront. They know the ways that they can play and support, and it's non-threatening. Instead of saying, oh, by the way, if you want to, if you want to help the hostess, like mine's more of like a thread of, and I like how it's very, upfront. And then you also have your follow-up systems. This is why this works virtually. Wow.
Yeah. And I do have one too. And I didn't say it verbally, but I have one that I send to the hostess ahead of time saying, when you have 2 friends host a party, you'll receive this, or when you have 2 friends. And so I'll send that one too.
That's awesome. Well, and I think Heidi just kind of alluded to another thing that we had wanted to touch on with this is the follow-up aspect of it, because I think that is one thing it's important in general in Mary Kay terms, but especially in virtual, because some of your groups and some of your parties might have, larger numbers of people that maybe not all of them watch or things like that. So the follow-up, I think it does take more work on the virtual side of things as far as follow-up goes. But in the whole scheme of things, your time is still kind of the same. Like even when Maya was talking, like we expect to have these like grand parties. And if we have something that's a $200 party, well, that may have only taken you 30 minutes to do, the actual party. And so adding in that extra time for the follow-up really does equate to you driving to a party, unpacking, setting up, doing the party, doing the individual clothes, like all of that kind of stuff. It's just, again, it looks different. It's the same, but it looks different. So one of the other things that we had wanted to share was just in regards to the tracking, specifically for those that you're looking to share with, in regards to a recruiting layering sheet. And I know that all of us, have used a different form of a recruiting layering sheet at different times, to keep track of, okay, here's our prospect, here's what they've done, here's, the next best step for them. This is one that has probably been updated the most recently. This is actually based on Heather Daniel Kent, who is a $1 million director in the Kansas City area, working towards finishing national. And she actually based this on another national sales director, Ari Hathaway. So that's kind of the background of it, but it does include some of the different layers that we didn't think about before because of doing things in person that now we have to consider as a layer when it comes to virtual. And so depending on your familiarity with a recruiting layering sheet, it's basically the concept of how many layers, how many points of like touch points, how many exposures does somebody have to information about Mary Kay in order to make a decision. Prior to COVID, we always typically said the average person has to have 4 touches. So 4 experiences with Mary Kay. That doesn't mean it has to take years. Some people do take a little bit longer, but 4 layers, so now with COVID, I'd be interested to see, like, I don't even know how to come up with like, what is the average now, but it probably is a little bit more just because some of the layers are not as in depth, maybe. I don't even know how, like what the right word would be for that, but I don't know.
I would say through a screen,
Yeah.
right? Like when you go physically to an event, you feel things differently
Right.
than you do. Whereas when we would have guest events in person, people would join the spot because you felt things.
Yeah.
Kind of like going to, right? Sherry and Jennifer, you guys experienced your first in-person bigger event. I know you all experienced, but never experienced before.
Yeah.
Not that seminar wasn't amazing. It was fantastic, but what you were there, like, felt things. So I would say that it's through a screen.
Yeah.
Right.
And that makes sense because even somebody had just shared how, like, even the difference of watching a sermon on, YouTube versus being in person watching that. Like, there is a difference to that. So that's a perfect explanation of that. It's just the energy is different. I think you have to do more to get that same impact, for
You don't
sure.
make that immediate connection.
Yes.
Right. Right.
Well,
Right.
and I think there's honestly a distraction level. You know what I mean?
That's exactly where I was going to go, because even though I'm here with you guys, I can hear my kids running upstairs, the vacuum going, or something just fell over, all those things.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, focus, like, and so, when we're in our homes watching something, or someone is like watching a party and they're cooking dinner at the same time, they're pulled. And I think that's why the follow-up conversation that Jen gets to talk about, that's where magic happens. Cause I feel like those conversations usually aren't as distracted. They're a little bit more intentional and focused. One of the things I felt like that Jen and I did also a lot was we did FaceTime chats instead of just over the phone. Anyway, so I think the distraction level, right? Like what else is going on in everyone's house right now as we're listening to this, and we want to be here and we want to grow and we want to learn. Now talk to someone who's just they are giving you their feedback. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
And
so
Jennifer,
I'm going to, go ahead, Sherry.
I have a question. Now it's gone. I'll think about it in a second. Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm going to share the screen and I'm going to share with you this layering chart. And we'll kind of go through each of the different layers. So again, Jennifer, Maya, Heidi, like chime in on this for sure. Okay, let me get this to where I can see it as well. Can you guys see that okay? Okay. I'm like trying to move so that all of our faces are not over top of the chart. So, and I will send this, let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger.
Hey guys, if you're on your phone, you can zoom into it with using your fingers. So like I can zoom into that chart even on my phone.
Oh, good to know. Good to know. Okay. I know I was going to try to make sure I can make this bigger a little bit. So basically, again, this is something, I mean, I've probably like been exposed to a layering chart like my entire Mary Kay career, you know, and again, it's just a way that you can say, to me, it's a kind of an organization process that you can take this piece of paper and say, okay, here's all of my people that I either want to share Mary Kay with, or I have shared Mary Kay with. I had always even taught to, like, especially for newer consultants, like, who's your dream team? Like, who would be the women that are in your life, in your customer base, that maybe you've not shared anything ever with them about Mary Kay, but you would love to have them on your team and have them on here as well. And the biggest thing with this is now you can look at it that if somebody's name is in here and you like check each of the boxes for the layers that they have had, and maybe it's somebody that you have shared about Mary Kay with and it's not been the right time, or they've not given you a yes yet, then it's like, okay, instead of just like forgetting them, it's okay, what's another layer that I can do with them, or a layer I can do again with them, to just, again, give them more exposure to be able to do it. Because I should have probably asked this at the beginning. Like, I think it would be fun to know, like, when we're looking at this, how many of these things each of us had before we said yes to Mary Kay. Like, because I can tell you, I had been to guest events. I had listened to Linda's Choices CD. I was using some of the product. I had been a hostess, all of those things. And it still took me probably a year or so to say yes, you know? So some people take longer than other people. And so that's one of the things that Linda always taught us, is if you were somebody that makes a quick decision, like if you were at a party and you're like, oh my gosh, this was fun, let's do it. Like, yes, you're expecting everybody else to do that same thing. And so when they're not, you get frustrated, you know, because you're expecting them to do like you did. You know, like, why can't they just make a freaking decision? It's not that hard. Some people are not wired that way. Some people take a little bit longer. So, and we can kind of talk a little bit more about that. But this is basically, so the product is the first column. So, and this is not even, I always clarify this, does not mean they have to be using tons of product, but have they tried product? Have they been exposed to the product? The same thing with samples, like, have they been sent, you know, again, if you're in the virtual world, have they tried the product? Like, those two kind of go hand in hand. But again, in the virtual world, it's not just a show and tell party. Like, they need to, have they experienced that product as well? Because sometimes people need to experience it before they can make a decision as well. Have they been a hostess? Have they watched a video? So like Jennifer talking about sharing our all-in marketing video, have they watched something like that? Or Amy Kemp's video, or a company video, anything. Referrals, I think I don't remember exactly what Heather had said, and I don't know if you're still, she may have had to step away. But I think the referrals kind of goes back to that, like what Jennifer had talked about in regards to, if she does a party and she's got people, I mean, yes, referrals as in the traditional sense of referrals, but even just the, like, she's got friends that have ordered product. She's got friends that have booked parties, that those are people that she knows that can now be her customers, you know, because that that kind of shows her, okay, I've already got people here that would be able to help with that as well. Guest event, again, virtually, in person. Has there been some sort of bigger kind of guest event with marketing that they have heard? Second date would just be like, is there another appointment? Is there something else that she has done, either again by herself, with a group, any of that? Facebook Live, I would probably need to make sure just to have clarification on how Heather does this, but I would just assume, like, has she watched any of your Facebook Lives? Has she participated? Has she been exposed to that? If I find out anything different on that, I will let you guys know. Is she in your customer Facebook group? Because again, the more that she's seeing in that, like when you're posting about products, you're posting about your business, you're posting about marketing. I'm just starting to do a thing in my customer group where it is, I got this idea from Heather Faring, where it's Throwback Thursday. And so I'm doing a picture of, now granted, I've had 17 years of Mary Kay to do this, but like I posted a picture the other day of an event where Linda came. I was in my red jacket and Linda came to celebrate because we had just earned our car and we're in DIQ. And so it was just, my goal with that was just to share, here's a little bit about my journey. Here's about my story. So whether it's a Mary Kay thing or just like the one I have scheduled for next week is my family does a thing called New Thanksmas, and it's Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's like all into one. And so it's just a family thing. So there's a picture of a family gathering from 2016, so again, just something that, they're seeing all kinds of things in your customer Facebook group that you want them in there. Pearl Girl call, obviously, have you actually done a Pearl Girl call with them, career chat with them? The game night, I think, is something specific to what HDK or Ari does. So I'm not sure on that. I think for us, that could even be something related to, which would kind of go into the guest event, but like the Watch It Wednesday, where we have the marketing event shared. So like the first Wednesday in December, on December 1st, Jennifer is going to be on with Kim, her brand new red jacket, and sharing Kim's story as well. We had Sherry, Sherry's been on there. So like those kind of things, again, I'm not sure what they do for game night, but those to me are, of course, our kind of layers. And then coffee, like, have you gotten together and sat down with them and actually, answered their questions, face to face, to be able to do that. And then, of course, the bold ask is so important, because I think sometimes we can go through all of those layers, but if we don't specifically ask, like, hey, are you ready to get started? Are you ready to say yes to Mary Kay? They may not do it. You know what I mean? Because they're waiting for somebody to ask. Because I remember a guest event that I was at, we did a fashion show. I remember exactly the room at Stony Creek Hotel. We were down in the basement and I heard Susan McCoy as the guest speaker. And I remember being in that room and I was like, okay, like I'm ready to do this. But the girl that invited me that night never asked me. And so if she would have asked me then, I would have started it. But she didn't. So then I just waited because I wasn't confident enough at that time to say, okay, I want to do this. Like I was waiting for her to ask. So that bold ask is such an important part of that as well. So how do
Can I say something there?
Yeah.
So the bold ask, I'm glad you said that. And I didn't know that story about you, Mary. That is crazy. Like that's an aha to me. This one relates to Sherry. In our local area, she definitely could have been recruited by two other sales directors, my sister sales directors in the area. And I didn't know this as much previously, but, had been a great customer. And the thing is, people did not ask her to join. And this was years prior. For whatever reason, Sherry's a very confident woman. And so I think it's interesting to me because now we show up at these events and I'm like realizing, oh my gosh, because I asked, that's why. And now Sherry, you're earning your car, going to be a sales director, and I know the other ladies are kicking themselves thinking, well, I never asked. So if you don't ask, you've got to be okay with someone else recruiting her.
Yep.
That's my philosophy. Not that we steal each other's customers or recruits, but if I don't ask a woman and I don't give her that opportunity to say yes to change her life, and someone else does, good for that someone else, other consultant, working her business full circle. So I can't hold anything against her on that. That's kind of how I look at that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, I remember the first time Heidi asked me, she asked me if I had a consultant. I was like, well, I used Mary Kay, several years ago before I moved here. And we went to our first event. I was like, oh, well, I know this person and I know this person. And she's like, how do you know those people? And I was like, well, I bought Mary Kay from them years ago. And then she's like, why did you say yes to me? And I said, you're the only one that asked. So,
yeah. Isn't that just like, that gives me goosebumps. Because I mean,
it floored me. I was like, okay, that was a lesson for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, or even if you ever have the experience where you have a customer that then she goes into like even to another company or another direct sales thing, that it's like, maybe Mary Kay would not have been the right fit, but did I ask her? Like, did I share with her? Did I, give her the information? I want her to be successful. I mean, I know Mary Kay is not for everybody, so I want her to be successful no matter what. But again, if you kind of get that, like, oh man, like that hurts, then it's like, well, is that on me? Like, is that because I didn't do what I needed to do for her to make that right decision? So yeah, it is crazy to think that thought. Maya or Jennifer, anything to add about this layering chart?
I think it's important to remember that like layering over time, I think can be exhausting. I think it's important that you focus on trying to do as many layers in a shorter amount of time. So like in my experience, I would say that layering in like 2 weeks or less is like magic. It really is magic, because if you only do one layer a month, then it's almost like you're having to like share, re-explain, redo all the things. And so this is why I think it's brilliant that you chat with your hostess who just tried product, who just had referrals, who just maybe you could also book her to attend the guest event coming up that month, or the weekly unit event that your director is hosting, or something like that. And so I think there's a magic to trying to put as many layers as possible in a 2-week frame or less. Because you guys, I also went to another Mary Kay party. I was engaged, and I had gone to David's bridal, and I did a party with another local Mary Kay director here in Kansas City. And she never asked me. I was really young, but my mom reached out to Amy, and then Amy was the one who asked. And I was like, yeah, that other lady never followed up with me. And I remember the first time that I saw her as a director at an event, and I kind of felt bad, but now I'm like, you never asked me. I know I was young. I know I probably didn't look like your ideal prospect, but Amy did. And I'm so incredibly thankful for that as well. So I was on product. I was a hostess. I went to an event. I had 2 chats, and knew Amy very well. And so, I mean, I think I want to say too, please don't give up in the pursuit. I think there's something so incredibly, the word attractive is not the right word, but there's something so flattering about pursuing someone with such authenticity. And Sherry, I love that you said this earlier, that we are an authentic group of women of integrity. And so don't let whispers of like, you're only recruiting for you or whatever to steal you of offering that opportunity to someone. Because when you are offering it to her, you're asking, you're offering, and she ultimately gets to make the decision, right? So I know that layering can sometimes be like, oh my word, I have to do another thing, but it's not that you have to, you guys, we get to, because you never know which layer could be the one that gives her the confidence to say yes. And I also believe there's a lot of power in keeping your layering charts, because every 6 months, like I'm about to pull up my layering chart from June, y'all, because I career chatted it up. But guess what? Christmas is around the corner, and I know people want tax breaks, or I know people have lost their jobs, or I know things have changed, or I know that inflation in our country right now is so much that people are struggling to make ends meet.
Mhm.
And so now the game is a little bit different. The conversation will be a little bit different. So you can revisit those layering charts. And I want to say this too. You will always recruit closest to the product.
Yes.
So instead of just asking for the chat, asking for the chat, asking for the chat, book that woman for another product experience first.
Mhm.
I would also say that's a magic tip. If the only reason I am reaching out to her is to have a feedback, be entered to enter contest, I don't know. Get with her with product first. So let me give you an example. This month, I'm focusing on doing Fab 5 parties, the holiday edition. So I'm reaching back out to customers who may have hosted a party for me in March, April, May, or June. I'm reaching back out to customers who may not have been able to do it in that time, because I know if they're around product, it just opens the window for conversation. And it's almost like I'm beginning that layering process again, even if they're already on product. So always recruit closest to the product experience. It's always going to be an easier way to reintroduce. But like I said, if you're always being like, give me your feedback. Do you want to join? 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 That's when people run away.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's not cute. That's not the way Mary Kay designed it. There's a reason why we party first and then share. And I would say, other than that, to me, there's no perfect order of layers other than like product, share, and like whatever happens kind of naturally, I guess. But those are just some tips that I've noticed when wanting to team build and to share. And guys, please, right now, go into the next 6 weeks knowing that people need what we have to offer right now. Like, tell yourself this season is a joyful season instead of a busy season, and you will see such abundant blessings come. Because if you look at it as busy, others do too. You look at it as joyful and abundant, the people that you talk to as well. So, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I know this is a joyful and wonderful, abundant season. Doesn't that sound so much more exciting than busy? Like, busy, for whatever reason, just has this horrible connotation, at least to me. Like, busy can stress me out. If I say if it's joyful and my schedule is full and abundant, it like instantly like changes how I hold my shoulders about my schedule. And I believe it can also change how you see recruiting in these next 6 weeks as well.
Yes, absolutely. It reminds me, when you talked to Maya about that, recruiting is a privilege, that Linda had done, and I'll have to see if I can find the recording, but she had a recording that was called "Recruiting is the highest form of flattery." Because like, if you've noticed and you've seen, like, now is the time that like athletes are signing their letters of intent with colleges and things. Think about how a football coach at a university goes and recruits for their players. You know what I mean? Like, they don't just go and watch them once and maybe say hi to them once and then be like, okay, well, if they want to, they'll come. Like, they pursue them, they go after them. And again, we want to do that in a very professional, non-pushy way, but it is flattery, and it goes back to the beginning of what we talked about. If there's all of these benefits and all of these things that we are thankful for in our business, why can we not pass that on to somebody? We don't know what that person is asking for. When she wakes up every morning and her feet hit the ground and she's like, man, I wish that I had this, or I wish I could do this, or I wish I could be home with my kids, or I wish I had better friends, or I wish I had an extra $200. Like, we don't know what somebody is asking for. So our job is just to pass this on. I also, as another resource, thought about, I know Maya, and I think you did it with Chatney, maybe, did a training on a conversational interview. So the fact of, hey, let's just sit down and do a facial, and how you can take and do a career chat at the same time that you're doing the facial. So it doesn't have to be facial, then career chat. It's one and the same. And I think that would be an amazing resource for us to share as well.
I forgot about that. That's actually real good.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen Maya do that in person.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
at my appointments, they're really good. Can I say something real quick about may sound weird, but I actually had a recruiting affirmation. Like, I only recruit the most highly educated, most successful, most abundant, busiest women. I recruit the top of the top. I say that to myself because there was a time where my confidence was low and I was recruiting people that, and everybody needs the opportunity. I want to be careful how I say that. Everybody needs opportunity. I believe Mary Kay wants to bless everybody. But when you are looking for a specific person, you're going to get what you ask for. So ask high, don't ask low. Ask above your confidence level. Ask above your pay grade, because that's where you're going to be. And so that's what I changed. And I did do exactly what Maya said. I recruited that layering. I did that layering process within that 2-week time. That's what she tweaked in my business. And so, yeah, love it all. You guys, powerful. Maya, so powerful.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Heidi, I remember you saying that to yourself. I remember sitting in your office and I saw the flip in your brain of how you were worthy to recruit women who you thought at that time you couldn't lead.
Yeah.
Right? Like, one of my new affirmations is that I would share with women who are better than me. Like, I don't want me. I want women who are better than me, who bring different strengths. They think differently. They're going to challenge me in my leadership. They're going to stretch me. And when you invite women who are different and bring different strengths and different skill sets, it naturally raises the quality of your team. It naturally raises the excellence. And I look at our last year, I look at our area, guys, and what we're doing and how we're growing and how we're manifesting. And last night in my devotion, I did it at like 9:30. And I think I'm on like day 13, by the way, but the word was ignite. There was a word igniting in there. And I was like, oh Lord, I feel this ignition in my soul. And I literally wrote down, but I believe that's because you are bringing women who are better than me. And when I know we're going over here, but when you kind of take yourself out of the equation and you really focus on her.
Yeah.
Like, don't ever look at a woman and think, oh, she doesn't need this. Y'all, I don't think any of us thought we needed anything from Mary Kay, and look at what we're so grateful for. Mary, I have chills that you asked us that at the beginning, because I think, wow, I think you're right. Like, sometimes we forget. Sometimes, I'm going to share with you guys this. Oh, sorry. Oops. I'm sorry. My phone's on my charger here. This week, one of the girls in my small group lost her job because her son and husband got COVID, and she asked for the week off, and they fired her, telling her she was unreliable. And I was like, that's a real thing. Like, that happens to people. I literally told Jordan, I said, I am so naive to the blessings of Mary Kay. And I literally was like, dear Lord, thank you so much for this business. Like, it just totally, because she was taking care of her family.
Yep.
It's only been like, Thursday was only 4 days. She had only called in for 4 days and they fired her. And I was like I said, I am so passionate. Women they need us more than ever before. So anyhow, yeah.
Yes. Okay. Well, we do need to go ahead and end this, because I know Sherry's got her open house. Heidi's got her open house. Everybody's got things going on and doing things. So Sherry, I did want to offer to you on here, do you have any other questions or comments or things like that for today?
I did think of my question for Jennifer. This goes back to what you were talking about earlier. So on your follow-up, on your when you message the guests to a party, do you find that you get responses back that they didn't even know they were in a party?
I don't message those who are just invited. I message those who actually accepted the invite.
But people that didn't even know they were in the party.
Very rarely.
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe that's too because I have the hostess message everyone like that is in the group already. So they've heard from her
Okay.
like post day 1, and then they hear from me post day 2.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I've been finding that happening, and I think it's an issue where, it's a social media, it'll pop up, they agree to be in the group, but then some reason they don't see the posts.
Why they're there. Yeah. I had that more so when I did posting parties versus the Fab Five. I will say that now that I'm thinking back to that, more so when it was a posting party versus a live video that I did. Yeah, I used to see that more often. And this is kind of off topic, kind of not, but as far as like extra layers, even if someone tells me no, they don't want this or aren't going to help post a party or this or that, even with the hostesses too, I'm like, can I send you a pampering package as a thank you for your response? I say pampering package because who doesn't want a pampering package? And I send those out all the time. And I've gotten a lot of sales and leads from those too.
Awesome. I'd say one thing on that topic too, Sherry, that might help is I have tried whenever I'm doing a party, like if I'm I've tried to welcome everybody to the group, and we'll make sure I like tag them in it, because then again, it is another way for them to know that they're in that, you know what I mean? It's not just the one notification that they got invited, it's multiple notifications with that. So
yeah. And also if you tag the group name, like I'll even do this in my unit group, my customer group, tag the group name, everyone gets a notification.
Just started doing that because I read that somewhere.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So awesome. Well, Sherry, thank you so much for being on today, taking time out of your day. I am so excited to hear about your open house and how
Oh
that
no,
goes.
my house was last week.
It was last week. Okay. I was thinking you had that today. Heidi's is today.
And Sherry has 8 shares today.
Oh my goodness. Good job. So,
Right.
so we are just excited, and hopefully this just gave you some ideas and some tweaks as far as sharing virtually, and we'll get the scripts and everything and the layering chart. But again, just as we, as we remember and we know how thankful we are for Mary Kay, just to know what a blessing that can be to other women and things that they need in their life. But also, when Maya was talking, it was even the idea of looking at the type of women that Mary Kay needs, that to elevate this company, to elevate our teams and our units. But, we are responsible for what's happening in Mary Kay and for carrying on Mary Kay, and as we prepare for our leadership conference in January, and some of our top leaders are retiring, like it's our responsibility to continue to bring the next people that are going to move this company forward. So it is about so much more than just us and a lipstick or things like that, but just the women and the families that can be impacted because of this business. So we, again, are incredibly proud of you, Sherry, and anyone else that's watching this recording after the fact. But we just thank you and have an awesome rest of your day. Have an awesome weekend, and we'll see you next time. So bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.